I'm Brian Van from SportBikeTrackGear.com, and today we're going to install driven block-off plates on our 2014 STG Road Racing World Honda CBR1000RR project bike. The block-off plates are a critical component when you have modified the exhaust system and you're going to be installing a fuel controller, which we're on the verge of doing. The exhaust is already done, right? We're going to do the block-off plates now, and then before we fire the bike up, we're going to put the full Bizaz unit on there. Why do we do the block-off plates? If you don't change them, you're not going to get correct air fuel readings, right, for the Bizaz self-mapper or for using a DynoJet auto tune. The other thing that'll happen is on decel, because the air fuel mixture is all messed up, you're gonna get a lot of popping and snapping on decel. You got some unburned fuel in there exploding as it comes out. It looks really cool, but it's not a good thing. So the solution for that is to remove the air injection system and install these block-off plates. Today we've chosen to use driven block-off plates. They come with some very generic instructions. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk you through the process that we use to install them on our Honda. Remember, if this project seems like it's over your head, take it into a licensed motorcycle mechanic, because it is important that it's done right. At the end of the day, the parts in the kit are very basic. This is going to plug off one of the tubes on the airbox, and this will replace the air injection inlets at the top of the valve cover. What do we need to do to begin this process? We need to take off the tank cover, the fuel tank, the seat, the airbox, and that is going to get us access to the parts that we need to get this project rolling. We'll go ahead and start with our rear seat, and then we'll move on to the tank cover itself. All right, we've got the seat off and the tank cover off. Those are really pretty basic things at the end of the day. Next step is going to be removing the fuel tank. We'll show you how to do that if you're a CBR1000RR. We've got 4 fasteners here. 5mm Allen heads. I'm going to pull these out, spacers and all, because I don't want to lose anything. Found sometimes if I leave the spacers sit in there while I'm working on it, they end up missing towards the end. So we're going to try and avoid that by removing them right now. 2 fasteners on each side, and we're going to be able to tip the tank up. Underneath, we're going to have the fuel line, the fuel pump electrical connection, as well as some vent lines for the fuel tank. Disconnect those, that'll allow us to get the tank off. From there, it's going to be all about the airbox. The first time I've done this job on a Honda, so I'm curious to see how this stacks up as compared to, say, a Suzuki or Yamaha. Tank comes up relatively easy. Getting in here to disconnect the fuel tank. This one's never had any fuel in it, so we're not going to have any spillage whatsoever. On this particular bike, we've got 2 connectors for the fuel pump. We have the vent line, which we had previously disconnected on this motorcycle when we were doing the bodywork install. And then you're going to have your actual fuel pump connector here. Just need to compress these 2 tanks. Like so. Oh, looks like there wasn't just a tiny bit of fuel in it. Maybe they ran the bike before it got put in the crate. I'm going to go ahead and put the fuel tank to the side. And then we're going to begin removing the airbox. Okay, we're ready now to begin removing the airbox. I took a look at the motorcycle before I started to collect the tools and things I was going to need to remove the airbox, and I decided I was going to be best to begin by taking the upper fairing off to get the ram air ducts out of there. And looking at the airbox, it appeared that the way the ram air ducts went in there, I was going to need to have them out of the way in order to cleanly get the airbox out. So to begin this process with the Honda, and once again, I'm going to say the build quality on this bike is very impressive. I mean, these guys really dot all the I's and cross all the T's. We've got this insulating cover here that we need to remove. It's got some tabs that it's held on. Kind of slips over. Remove remove that, put it to the side, and then we can begin removing the airbox itself. Like I said, this is the first time I've done this on this bike, so we'll see how this is compared to the other models. Okay, the ECU, looks like we're going to have to remove the top portion of the airbox to make this happen. Disconnect these electrical connectors here. Okay, this harness looks like it's going to need to flip back. The ECU should slide out of that. Okay. Disconnect that. Just going to unscrew that. I think that'll be better there. Slide that out of there. Got a retainer here for the harness. Okay, that'll be able to flip over. Injectors off. Okay. Let's go ahead. Grab this screwdriver here. ECU bracket. Got a couple of connectors that are clipped to it. I think it's just going to be easier just to unscrew it rather than unclip all that stuff. Actually, I'll just fold that out of the way, like so. Now we're on to the upper injectors here. We need to disconnect. Looks like they've got a safety catch here. Okay. Disengage that rubber safety. Plus the tangs here on the fuel line, standard stuff there. Fuel line moves right out of the way. Okay. I'll go ahead and use my cordless. Remove all these screws, it'll go a little quicker for us. And what I expect to find underneath here is going to be just standard issue stuff, hoping to just see some velocity stacks that I unscrew. Air filter, and I should be able to get the airbox off without too much trouble. Thus far, I'm going to say I'm pretty impressed with the way this bike is put together. I think Honda's done a phenomenal job with it. Obviously, it's pretty much exactly what I expected. Okay, what comes off, upper injectors. Put this to the side. First thing I want to do is, okay, this is not a by-wire bike. This is actually a throttle cables are connected right to the butterfly. So something that I want to do, I've never even started this bike yet. Really don't want anything to wind up down there in the cylinders, because if that throttle gets rotated and something on top of one of those plates while we're working on it, it's going to be down in the engine. Really don't want to start this project off that way, so we're going to go ahead and just pack some paper towel down in there, which we will of course remove as we go through the rest of the process. And our air filter, which can probably stay in place. Let's go ahead and get these velocity stacks off here. The screws are usually in there pretty tight, so be ready to use a little force to break it loose for the first time. Make sure you're using a good sharp screwdriver. Let's make sure that stays down in there as well. You'll see that these screws are also retained in place, so if they were to shake loose, they can't really wind up going down the velocity stack in the motor. Pretty important. Flush that. Other side here. Okay. Let's see what else we have here. Looks like we've got one connector left. Let's see if the air filter can stay in place or if it needs to come out. Got a intake hose up front here. Okay. Pop that one off. Yeah, I think my instincts were right with the ram air ducts. That really, by pulling the ram air ducts out, this allowed the airbox to literally just come right out. We've got two hoses left. One is a vacuum line to the sensor here. Just connect that. You want to be really careful there not to tear the nipple off of that. And then, so that's going to be breather or air injection over here. Disconnect this hose. And there is our airbox. Okay. Throttle cables, another panel here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump in here right now. I'm going to remove this hose. Feels like this one up front may be the actual breather hose. This clamps are a little different. Side. Hopefully we can use this side here without too much trouble. Use some adhesive here. Two-way tape on the front here on the frame. And release that. Move this through. And slide that, and there we go. There is what we're looking for. This is the breather hose, so I'm just going to go back on. This hose over here is going to be the inlet for the air injection system. This is going to be the one that we're going to plug off when we put the airbox back on the motorcycle. Up here is our air injection system, and then the two plates which we're going to be replacing. So what I want to do now is I want to get prepared to remove the solenoid, the hoses, and then we're going to pull off the caps. All right, I've got the tools that I need now to begin removing the air injection solenoid, the hoses, and most importantly, the actual caps themselves from the valve cover. We're going to begin by disconnecting the solenoid. I'll roll it out of the way. Unplug it. It is also attached to this wiring harness up here. We're probably going to need to secure this out of the way once we're done here, because we're losing this point of anchor by taking off the air injection solenoid. So pretty much it looks like we've got 4 8mm fasteners. These are always in there tight, and they use thread locker. Removing the ram air ducts got me another benefit here. It got me some really super sweet access from the side here to get to the outer fasteners. I'm using a 1/4 inch ratchet with a swivel. Like I said, these are usually in there pretty well, so the torque of the ratchet is nice to have. Set my battery box. I'm surprised I'm not putting up more of a fight than that one did. Oh, that one's a little tighter. Another nice part about this project is, you lose a little bit of weight from the motorcycle, by getting rid of this air injection system. But it also really declutters this area, makes it a lot easier to service it with maintenance projects. performance add-ons and such. Sorry, fasten around, let me see that. Loctite there. We'll use, on our reinstall, we'll use blue Loctite to make sure that these fasteners do not come loose on us. Okay, all the fasteners are out. We're ready to remove that stock air injection solenoid and hose kit. Comes out really, really easy, okay? Especially this motor hasn't really been run, so everything's pretty much brand new. I'm just gonna snake that out of there. One thing I wanna look at right now is I wanna look at the new plates from Driven. I wanna look at the stock ones. I just wanna make sure I get everything on there correctly. You'll see there's a cutout on top of the stock plate that faces the rear of the motorcycle, and Driven has one on their plate as well. So we're gonna orient this so the Driven logo is towards the rear of the motorcycle. To install it, we'll go ahead and slide it in place. I looked and made sure all the gaskets and everything were still right where they needed to be. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use some blue thread locker on these bolts. Don't want these to come loose. Go ahead and Permatex here. I'm going to do this for both sides. Get these fasteners all torqued down in position. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what it takes to wrap up this air injection block-off plate installation. Okay, the plates are all torqued down. Everything's good to go. Give you a quick look inside here. You'll see that up front now it is much, much cleaner. Everything's tightened up. From here, what do we need to do? It's pretty simple really. What we need to do is basically backtrack the entire disassembly and reassemble the motorcycle. We're not going to show you all that with this video because at the end of the day, all you have to do is follow the simple steps that we showed you early on in the disassembly, and that's going to get you back to where you need to be. Now, once you have the bike back together, what do you need to look for? You definitely want to start the motorcycle, and you want to make sure everything's okay and it sounds good before you ride. It is possible to make a mistake when putting these on. I've seen it done before. The motorcycle makes this very interesting noise. It sounds like there's something wrong with the engine. Okay, so before you ride it, definitely start it up, double check everything, and make sure the bike is good to go. Once again, if you're not comfortable with a project of this nature, take it into a licensed motorcycle technician. They'll be happy to do it for you, and you can be assured that it's going to be done right. Thanks for watching. This is the Driven block-off plate install on our 2014 STG Road Racing World Honda CBR1000RR project.